How much drugs value could come in one condom?
Well, depending on what kind of drugs, but from £4,000 or £5,000 in a condom. Probably more, dependent upon what it is, which is unbelievable, isn't it? For the price of, I mean, how much would it is, a tenner? It's not a bad business model, is it? Hi, I'm Lee, I'm a former prison guard, corrupted for bringing contraband into prison, and I'm going to talk you through some of the methods that prisoners use to get contraband in.
Deep X.
Method 1, tennis ball thrown into a jail. Prison walls are not that high. One of these things, especially using a tennis racket, you can transport that hundreds of metres. Contraband put inside, drugs, anything, and it will be fired onto an exercise yard or to an area of prison where somebody's ready to receive it. Prisoners are onto the exercise yard and straight away they see a tennis ball, they're going straight for it. It's up to the officers to stop them.
What kind of things would people put inside the tennis ball?
Mainly drugs, phone, SIM cards. Steroids is another one. In jails, a lot of lads like to use steroids, obviously to build themselves up, to become more fearful.
I mean, it sounds so simplistic, but is there not a bit of an element of danger that the person who it's not intended for can run out and grab it?
Possibly. It's just, it's a numbers game, you know. At one point it's going to hit, and things in prison are worth a hell of a lot more. So if we filled that with cannabis, it's not a great deal in there, but in prison they can sell for 10 times more. Another one, just to go off the tennis ball, I've seen this. Dead animals, pigeons, can be thrown over a wall that have been cut open, laced with drugs. If you look at it, a dead pigeon on a yard can be, you know, quite believable. If you see that on a yard, you're going to know exactly what it is.
You can't hit a dead pigeon with a tennis racket, I don't think.
Well, you can try. Right, so we'll go for prison letters. Usually what happens is, I mean, some people are brazen with this and they will literally just put drugs in, but the prison system is quite astute at detecting that kind of thing. Technically, every letter in prison should be checked. However, the main common method these days is to douse letters in things like spice and drugs, then to be heated up by the prisoners or subtracted in the cell. I mean, again, a numbers game. If you douse this in drugs and send 5 letters, it just takes one of them to get through. We're not that high security, especially in the local prisons, and certainly Cat Ds, Cat Cs, some will get through. The drugs was always prevalent, but now is the top on the agenda. So to douse that in outside drugs, shall we say, would be minimal cost, but inside it's an absolute goldmine.
And is there any other cases that you've heard of them being intercepted and gone missing?
From officers?
Yeah.
Not that I know of. However, I mean, if we look at my story, I'm sure it happens. That would be the ideal situation, that you had a corrupt officer that was working in the security department or checking department. I mean, that would be literally like winning the lottery, really, for someone inside. We'll go for the drone. My wing, B wing, overlooked a load of woodland. Now, obviously, you've got cameras and whatnot out there patrolling this kind of thing, so drones would come flying over, and these things are that technical these days, they can hover outside a cell window with precision. Now, all you need is obviously an attachment and a bag of drugs. Because they have cameras on them, you can pinpoint where they're being delivered. It's basically like Amazon times 10. You know, you can order your drugs in from outside to be delivered literally to your window and then dispersed around the wing.
If the prisoners are seen picking up the tennis ball or receiving the letter
Yep.
or receiving the drone,
Yeah.
what happens to them?
So it would be similar to outside charges. So first and foremost, they would get segregated within the jail, you know, the drugs seized and whatnot. That kind of find would then be sent to the outside courts. So they would go through a police caution. And if it was a substantial amount, they would then get extra time on the sentence, maybe retried on that itself. So it's dangerous, but all this is geared towards addiction and money that is actually far more profitable in the jail than doing it on the streets. And with less chance of getting caught in jail, because there's a bigger network of things that could go wrong outside than inside.
How much do people get given leniency? For example, if there's a tennis ball, someone picks it up, they immediately get grabbed by an officer,
Yeah.
and they go, oh, I just saw a tennis ball on the floor, or a letter is sent to them, it's like, well, I didn't ask for that, someone's just
Yeah,
sent
of
me that
course.
to stitch me up.
Yeah, there's always going to be mitigating circumstances, and there will always be, dare I say it, it's expected to a certain degree. They may have information. For instance, they may have intercepted a few phone calls or letters, and found out about this potential kind of drone drop-off, then they would be expecting it. Then this turns up at the window. They then rush into the cell, get the drugs, and there's a picture forming to send to the judge outside. But you can't pinpoint it was for that prisoner, so therefore they're playing the game much the same as in the court. You've got to be proven. Next one, we have got currency. Now, there's two sides of this. Cash will always be king, even in jail, although predominantly most of the transactions go on outside, either between families or gang members. That's all sorted out outside. How they are done is usually by illicit mobile phones in jails. So they're conducting a business network from a cell, which it's ludicrous, but it's doable. Visitors coming in to visit prisoners, they are allowed cash on them. I know females and males will hide stuff in these kind of things, fold them up, can be secreted in a bra. It can be wrapped and folded, and males do secrete it in their behind and also in their foreskin. When you are having a strip search, you've got to have special dispensation to cavity search someone. So it's kind of a safe bet that if you can hide something within that, it's not going to get found.
I mean, the foreskin is next level.
It is. I mean, you're knackered if you're circumcised, but yeah, it is next level. But people will go to any extremes in there to get what they want or to hide something from the officers.
But inside prison, the value is significantly higher, right?
Yeah, it is. Well, more so the drugs than the money. Like I said, predominantly the money is already sorted before the drugs come in. But anything like that, I mean, that is worth money in jail, especially this kind of stuff more in open prisons, because lads are able to go out into the community, although when you're in an open prison, you're only allowed to take out, for instance, a tenner, which will get you a coffee, a sandwich, that kind of thing there. If you can secrete that, you're going out into the community with cash, because there's no other way of getting it. Unless you meet someone that you know, it's a tough one.
What happens to the person who passed it over?
They are susceptible to quite strong charges. Technically they are smuggling into prison. The same charge as me, because obviously the male estate of prison, there's far more males in than females. It tends to be more girls, wives, girlfriends, that are doing it for probably their other half. But yeah, they are still bound to the same charges. The last one, the condoms. Condoms can be filled with drugs, can be swallowed, held in a throat. The lengths that people go to and the control they have over this kind of thing blows my mind. For instance, someone coming in on visits could fill that full of drugs, secrete it in their throat or in their mouth. When they're on a visit with a prisoner, it can be passed via a kiss. Next level is also secreted in exactly what we spoke about before, in a vagina or in an anus. The visitor goes to the toilet, retrieves, and then passes. A lady with a skirt on can retrieve a lot more than what we would like to imagine. And that's a perfect way of doing it. It's lubrication, slides down the throat, slides in anywhere. That is common. There's quite a big officer present on visits. So to do it, you've got to be really good. You can't just go in and start reaching. They're usually real seasoned pros. And dare I say it, they're usually people who are doing it for that. They might not necessarily be going to see that prisoner, but they're involved within that. It's just an avenue in. But visits is a big one.
How much drugs value could come in one condom?
Well, depending on what kind of drugs, but from £4,000 or £5,000 in a condom. Probably more, depending upon what it is. Which is unbelievable, isn't it? Yeah. For the price of, how much would it is, a tenner? It's not a bad business model, is it?
And finally, to anyone watching this who is thinking for the first time of giving it a go for whatever their circumstances are in their life, what would you say to them?
Absolutely not. It's not worth it. Any of this, I know we make light of it and humour, but it's not worth it because, like I say, you will be subject to the same charges, and you will go to court, and sometimes you'll go to prison yourself. So for the sake of whether it be a partner asking you to do it or you doing it for financial gain, like I've said before, it's not worth it. Really not worth it.